In today's show, the latest NBA mock drafts have the Blazers chasing Shaedon Sharpe. Is that a good idea? Plus, what the lineup data tells us about the future of the Lillard and Simons backcourt. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Blazers your first listen every day. Free and available on all platforms 5 days a week, coming at you every single weekday. Make it a part of your daily routine and then tell your pals to do the same. Today's show is going to be a whole bunch of fun. We got new mock drafts. The big prognosticators drop some mock drafts on Monday. So what you're getting for Wednesday's show a couple days later is a roundup of the latest projections of what the Blazers will do in the 2022 NBA draft. And then we're going to close the show with a listener question about lineup data and how that can tell us about what the future of the Blazers looks like. Let's talk mock drafts to start it off, though, because we're heading into mock draft season. We're still 50, as you're listening to this, 56 days away from the NBA draft. We're still about 20 days away from the draft lottery, finding out when the Blazers, or where exactly the Blazers will select. Reminder, they've got a 37% chance of getting a top 4 pick and a greater than 9% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. But their most likely spot they're going to land, just the way the odds work, is 7th. 6 or 7 is very likely. They have the 6th best lottery odds, but the way the odds work, 7th is actually a little more likely than 6. So they're going to be in that early mid-lottery range probably, but they could be all over basically the top 10, 1 through 4. I believe they could be 1 through 4 and 6 through 10. They cannot be 5 the way the math works. But the mock drafts we're going to look at either, for the most part, have just assumed the Blazers are going to pick 6. So let's get into what they're saying over at CBS Sports. They've got the latest mock draft where the Blazers are slotted in 6, their current draft odds, their current draft position, and CBS has the Blazers taking Shaedon Sharpe. This is a relatively common name you're going to see at this spot. 6'6" guard at Kentucky, was at one point the number 1 rated recruit in his graduating class, a consensus 5-star recruit heading into Kentucky, but did not play at Kentucky. Chose to sit out and set himself up for exactly the situation where he's the number 6 pick in the draft. You can't, by sitting out in college, it probably means you can't play yourself to be the number 1 overall pick, but you can't play yourself down to 12, right? Like if they think you're one of the 5 best players in the draft class, the lack of data tends to help this type of thing. It tends to help the Shaedon Sharpes of the world. I mean, not too many people go this route, but typically less data is better, asked James Wiseman. So I like Sharpe, like in theory. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've watched a YouTube video of him. I've watched about 12 minutes of YouTube clips, maybe 2 total videos now, but certainly one long one. He's a really good athlete, 6'6" with length. He's super young. He'll be 19 on draft day. He's got real upside as a shooter. He's got real upside maybe as playing 1, 2, or 3. He's probably a 2 to beginning his career, but with the length and size to get bigger. I've even seen some sort of maybe rosier scouts to say that there's a chance that he hasn't filled out physically, and he could get he could even grow once he gets to the league. I don't think you scout based on growth plates, but 6'6" with real athleticism, pull-up jump shooting, some playmaking skills. He's intriguing. The Blazers don't need more guards, but at a certain point, it's just you take a good basketball player if he's there, and they're CBS, not the only folks who think that Shaedon Sharpe could be a target if the Blazers end up at 6. ESPN, this is ESPN Plus behind the paywall, Jonathan Givony and Mike Schmitz, they have Shaedon Sharpe also headed to the Blazers. And I just want to read you this sentence from ESPN. I love this. With the Trailblazers clearing the books and going younger and more development focused at the moment, 18-year-old Sharpe makes a lot of sense here. The Blazers are not going young or clearing the books. They're not going cheap. They're not going to rebuild. ESPN's confused. like the Blazers are gonna go for it, which makes the Shaedon Sharpe thing weird because if he needs, like in some ways weird, right? Like all rookies are gonna struggle year one. Most rookies are bad. Even the ones who end up being great are maybe not super impactful and immediately. Like I think Jalen Green is going to be awesome. I think Cade Cunningham is going to be a star in this league. It took him a month to figure it out, maybe even 6 weeks to figure it out. I think Josh Giddey is going to be awesome. He wasn't like a high level contributor to winning. I think you get rookies that obviously contribute at a high level. I just watched Jose Alvarado and Herb Jones play a playoff game. It certainly happens. But it's like, even top tier rookies are not great right away. So like the Blazers want to be good. They're not getting cheap. They're not clearing the books. Like maybe they have cleared the books or whatever, but that's going to change shortly after the draft when they hit free agency and I believe spend a bunch of their money to try to be competitive again. At least that's what they keep saying. It's not like this is an insider information. This is what Joe Cronin and the front office keep saying. So ESPN a little confused. I just wanted to read that to listen to Locked On Blazers. We've got you covered. The other mock draft I want to highlight is from The Ringer. The Ringer just released this on Monday. All of these came out this week. All of them came out on around April 24th or 25th. I'm not going to read you old ones. It's only the new here on Locked On Blazers. The Ringer did something a little bit different where they mixed up. They instead of just slotting people at their draft position, they simulated it and such that teams jumped up higher in the draft than their odds. So the Blazers pick at 3 in the Ringer's current mock draft. And the Ringer has them taking Paolo Banchero from Duke. I like this pick. I think Banchero and Jabari Smith are should be the Blazers' top 2 guys on their board in towards of wants. Smart people think Chet Holmgren is going to be really good, and I have no reason to doubt the people who've watched him closely and do this professionally and like really know how to scout prospects. That's not my skill. I can develop opinions. I'm not bad at having opinions, but I'm not a scout. I won't fake the funk here. It's something I'm proud not to fake the funk here on this podcast. But for me, Jabari Smith and Paolo Banchero are just better fits. Both, I think you can plug in at the 4 pretty early on in their careers. Jabari with, he's such a good shooter. Like he's just an elite. He's one of the elite shooters, and maybe doesn't have a lot of shot creation, but if he comes along a little bit defensively, which he has the instincts to, or at least the scouts say he has some ability to come along defensively with that shooting, like that's a stretch 4 for and potentially a whole lot more if some other of his shot creation stuff really goes down. And Banchero, I think might even be the Blazers' most intriguing target if they were to land in the top 3 because of the playmaking. This is what Damian Lillard desperately needs. He needs another guy. One of the reasons Dame and Nurk is such a special pairing is because they can play off each other and Nurk has a little bit of playmaking chops. I think Banchero can pretty quickly surpass Nurk in terms of playmaking chops. When I've had a guest on here in the past, Rafael Barlow, he compared him favorably to sort of Blake Griffin, that type of playmaker. Not like a true point forward, but someone you can run high post offense through and can make decisions. I've watched Banchero play a bunch of games in college by virtue of proximity to Carolina, and he's like, he can pass and he can score on his own. He didn't have crazy burst and separation in his final collegiate games, but he's a special player. And I think with a little more creativity on offense, I don't think Duke was super creative at the end of Banchero's career. I'm a hater. You heard it here. But I think with a little more creativity on offense and better teammates, Banchero will even be more unlocked as a guy who can create his own shot and can create for others. That's exactly what the Blazers need at 4. He's exactly the type of player they need at 4, or at power forward at the 4 spot. This is the mock having them take 3. Blazers, like I said, 37% chance to pick in the top 4. If they end up in the top 3, Banchero would probably, I think it's, for me right now, my big board, and we'll finalize this as we get a little closer to the draft. I would think for Blazers purposes, Jabari, Banchero, Holmgren would be my 1, 2, 3 right now. So Banchero, if you get him at 3, that's the number 2 guy on the board for the Blazers. I really, really, really like it. I'll be honest. Even if he went to the wrong college, I still think I think he's the really, really intriguing skill set for what the Blazers need. Speaking of what the Blazers need, a listener sent me a question about concerning lineup data and the future of the Anfernee Simons and Damian Lillard pairing. So let's talk about in the second segment. Let's talk about some Blazers needs. Let's talk about the Blazers future, and let's use a little bit of data to help us do it. Shout out to my nerds out there. Before we do that, though, let me tell you about Shady Rays, an independent sunglass company that gives you features of $200 sunglasses for the fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, premium high-end finishes, and also something you won't find anywhere else. Shady Rays has this wild protection program that includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They'll send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. Exclusively for my listeners, head to shadyrays.com. Use that promo code LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for the best deal of the season, 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses at shadyrays.com. All right. Let's keep it rolling. We talked mock draft stuff. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk some lineup data and talk about the future of the Trailblazers. So much of the draft is like getting this right, so whatever comes next for the Blazers fits, right? Like it has to all fit together. The Blazers have a narrow window. Not getting that other pick from the Pelicans has given them a narrow window. They got to get it right this offseason. I mean, it's like if they don't, they get to do it again, and they'll get to give it another shot with in-season trade, something that the past regime was pretty good at, kind of figuring out things in February. So there's proof that you can figure things out in February if you don't figure it out in June and July. But like one draft pick, a trade exception, mid-level exception, like they got to get this right. And so much of getting this right is how things fit together. Opportunity and fit are the most important things when building an NBA roster. And listener Jacob G. on Hawthorne, shout out to Jacob G. on Hawthorne, sent me a question regarding lineup data about, is there anything we can learn from this season that will give us a sense of what next season will look like? This was on the heels of my conversation with Eric Griffith. Eric was on Monday's show and last Friday's show, if you haven't listened to either of those programs. And we kind of talked about the future of the Blazers and their needs and our sort of, I don't know, hopes and dreams, but our like what we think they should do this off season. And part of that was like, if they're going to commit to playing so much with Anfernee Simons and Damian Lillard, which they are, they're two best offensive players, then you've got to figure out what fits with them. But first, and this was Jacob's question, you got to figure out if they fit well together. Does it work? And Jacob sent me a bunch of data kind of on 2-man pairings and 3-man pairings and all those things. And I like lineup data. First of all, let me be clear about this. I think I've said this a bunch. If you're a long time listener to the podcast, you've heard me say this for 3 years on the show. The only thing a coach does when the game starts is decide who plays and when. Like NBA coaches do a lot of strategy things. They do a lot of, they call plays out of timeouts and they get you prepared. But like when the game starts, the thing that they do is decide who plays together. And who plays together is, fit and opportunity, the biggest, most important things for a team. And in game, like in a random regular season game where the like sort of specific opponent prep is a little bit lower, who's on the court and with whom is what really matters. I've joked about this with former Blazers coach Terry Stotts, and he kind of half agreed, although he was a little bit insulted by it. But I really mean it. Like I really think the most important thing a coach does night to night is just decide who plays and when. That's really about it. So I like lineup data because who's on the court and how well he did on the court and how it all fits is fascinating to me. And it's not just the it's like fun with numbers, and I think lineup day can be obviously a little bit noisy. I think over the course of the season you get a better sense of this group works well together. Okay, we can see it with our eyeballs, and the numbers suggest the same thing. But in general, in small sample sizes, lineup data doesn't mean much. And I say that as a caveat because I'm going to share you some small sample size lineup data. I think it's fascinating. What we're going to use is offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating. Offensive rating is points scored per 100 possessions. Defensive rating is points allowed per 100 possessions. And the net rating is the difference in those two numbers. So you want O rating to be big, you want D rating to be small, and you want your net rating to be in the positive. So Jacob G, to answer your question about what we can learn about the Damian Lillard and Anfernee Simons pairing into the future, you know what I did for you? I went to cleaningtheglass.com, the indispensable stat site run by Ben Falk, and I looked at lineups that included Damian Lillard, Anfernee Simons and Yusuf Nurkic when CJ McCollum and Norman Powell were not on the floor. So no CJ, no Norm, Dame, Ant, and Nurk. So the future of the Blazers, those are the Blazers' three best players. Obviously, Ant and Nurk are free agents, but they're coming back. Don't worry. They're going to get the bag, or each will get a bag, not just shared one. But those three, because of the nature of this, because the Blazers had CJ and because they had Norm and because Ant really struggled in December while things were kind of going south and then took off in January and was great, but Dame didn't play after December 31st, there's just not a lot of minutes together. That trio, Dame, Ant, and Nurk, played 65 total possessions when CJ McCollum wasn't on the floor and Norman Powell wasn't on the floor. That's 65 total possessions. They had an offensive rating of 123.1, great. They had a defensive rating of 106.5, pretty darn good. And they had a net rating of plus 16.6. They outscored opponents in those 65 possessions. If you were to, 1.6 points per possession, I guess, is the way to think about it. But, you know, if a game is roughly 100 possessions, it's like some people say games are 100 possessions. That's like, it's not exactly how it works. U.S. estimated possessions are typically in about 100 range. So if you were to play those trio together over the course of the game, the Blazers typically, if you played them every single minute, would win by double digits, plus 16.6 net rating. I mean, 65 possessions is nothing. We're talking like heavily used lineups are in the 400, 500, and sometimes 1,200 range for like teams that really stay healthy and play a whole bunch together. 65 is just, it is a tiny little sample, but it suggests that the Blazers are what you would expect. Extremely good on offense and kind of meh on defense. That's the future of this team. Like, they're going to tell us all summer long and into training camp that they're recommitted to defense and they're going to be so good and blah, blah, blah. And they can take a turn. Look at the Dallas Mavericks, who went from mediocre defense to a great one. Certainly things happen. I'm not poo-pooing it, but I am poo-pooing it. I like the Blazers' path to being really good is being the number one offense in the league and something like the 12th best defense in the league. That's their path forward. And with Ant and Dame, I think that's about as much as you can ask for. And the very small sample size we have suggests that there are something like that. In 41 of those 65 possessions, Nasir Little was on the court. That's the Blazers' core for the future. You're going to have to figure out how to get Josh Hart in there somewhere. More on that in a moment. But in 41 of those minutes with Dame, Ant, Naz, Nurk, no CJ, no Norm. So no guys who aren't going to be, no like good impactful players who are going to be on the roster next season. Mostly those minutes were shared with Robert Covington. He's gone. Larry Nance, he's gone. And Ben McLemore, also gone. But in those 41 minutes, the defense was a little bit better and the offense was a little bit worse. They had a plus 14.4 net rating in those minutes with that quartet of Dame, Ant, Naz, and Nurk on the floor. It gives you a tiny little minuscule and mostly statistically meaningless sample that suggests that this team could be pretty good together. And I think our eyeballs and what we know about the talent of those four gentlemen suggests the same thing. Like, I would say typically, and I think you learned this watching the playoffs too, is like in these tiny little sample size moments, like, oh, hey, this doesn't mean anything. It was one game or one quarter or whatever. But you see the little thing and you say, okay, let's explore that more. And I would say that Dame, Ant, Nurk, Naz quartet has proven it is worth exploring more. 41 total possessions together, like a tiny little amount of basketball together, but it's been really effective. It's been really effective in the way you would think. So it's not like a weird statistical oddity where they're like this elite defensive team and not very good on offense. Like very good on offense, decent on defense. That's their path forward. Those four together. Another thing worth noting is that they played 10 total possessions with Dame, Ant, Ben McLemore, and Yusuf Nurkic, and they got absolutely shelled on defense, which brings me to the next point. The Blazers got to get bigger. They got to get bigger. I don't want to see much of the three-guard lineup with Dame, Ant, and Josh Hart because the Blazers desperately need size on the wing. Let's talk about that to close the show because size on the wing is incredibly crucial. If you've been watching postseason basketball, it's just so damn obvious that big teams are more effective. Let's talk about that to close the show. But first, let me tell you a little something about Built Bar. Built Bars are great. That's what I'll tell you about them. They're great. They are the best tasting protein bar I've ever had. I've been eating Built Bars regularly for over 2 years, and I've got my flavors that I enjoy. But what I really like about Built Bars is that, one, in the sort of middle of the day, snack time, or like needing to go, get some fuel on the run, it's something that'll spike my blood sugar a little bit, make me feel a little bit of rush from eating something sweet and something that tastes good, but it's not high calorie or high sugar. Just the average Built Bar has just 4 grams of carbs, 130 calories, and that's 4 net carbs and less than 4 grams of sugar and just 130 calories. Plus, they're packing 17 grams of protein. I like Built Bars because they taste good, and then they like give me something to work with. The trade-off in terms of calories and protein is about as good as anything you're going to find in the protein bar world. And on top of that, they taste great too. So why don't you go get yourself some? Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. You get 15% off your next order. It's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richman. You're still listening to Locked on Blazers. We are still building off of a question from Jacob G. on Hawthorne, a regular listener and regular emailer to the podcast. LockedOnBlazersPod@gmail.com if you want to become a regular email to the podcast, who was asking about lineup data, asking about the future of Dame and Ant. And I've been really, like, one of the things I try to be on this podcast is consistent, or when I change my mind on stuff, I try to be open and honest about, hey, I used to think this, now I think this. But I want to be consistent with my belief in Dame and Ant. I think they're going to be pretty good. Like, I think they're going to have some real defensive shortcomings, but I think Ant plays better off Dame than CJ did, and I think there's a chance, although he's got a long way to go, that there could be a better defensive pairing than Dame and CJ was. CJ's a better defender by a pretty wide margin than Ant is right now. People telling you differently are selling you hope, and I am here to say it's okay to hope, but like, I watch the games. I know what my eyeballs tell me. So while I'm a big believer in that duo, and quite frankly, you put Nurk on the court, he's the most important non-Dame member of the Blazers. His consistency and his presence, his availability will be the most important thing for the Blazers next season. He's the key in the middle. He basically, when Nurk has been healthy, the Blazers have been an average to above average defense, and the minutes he's been off the court over the last 5 seasons, they've been terrible. Nurk's the key. But what I really think I've gleaned from looking at this lineup data is that when the Blazers played Nazir Little and Robert Covington, or Nazir Little and Larry Nance Jr. at those forward spots when they had a little bit of length, because Naz is only like 6'5", 6'6", but he's long and he's strong. Like he's got real length, like real positive length at the small forward spot. He's a little small to play power forward consistently. He can, but here's my thing. I do not want to see Nazir Little play very much power forward next year. I want the Blazers to have figured out how to get bigger at those spots. And it's just, every minute I've watched the playoffs, that opinion has been hammered home. You look at the Boston Celtics. One of the reasons they beat the Brooklyn Nets is because they're just straight up better than the Brooklyn Nets. But one of the big reasons that they had an advantage in that series is that they're huge. And they're able to play big all the time and not sacrifice much. They got big old playmakers that the Nets have a lot of trouble playing against, and the Nets basically have 0 players in their rotation between 6'5" and 6'9". They got a bunch of point guards, a bunch of dudes under 6'3" who have to play, like Seth Curry and Patty Mills, Goran Dragic, and then they got a bunch of centers: Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, LaMarcus Aldridge, Nick Claxton, but they don't have wings. Wings are so valuable. You know what the Celtics have? They have a boatload of wings. Even Grant Williams, who's kind of like a weird 6'6", is 6'6" center. He's 6'6". Jason Tatum's really big. Jaylen Brown's really big. Marcus Smart, even if he's small, plays bigger than 6'4", like really small 6'4". Like he size matters. You look at you look at the New Orleans Pelicans. Their preferred lineup is freaking gigantic, right? Like they want to play really big. And when they go small, they just take out their 7-footer and put in 6'10" Larry Nance. Pretty good pretty good playoff backup five. The Blazers had it right. They just couldn't get to the playoffs with him. You look at Phoenix when they're whole, like right now they're playing Campaign and Chris Paul, but when they're whole with CP and Devin Booker, who's 6'5", 6'6", but strong as hell, like and tough, and then you have Jay Crowder, and then you have Mikal Bridges, and then you have 6'9" Cam Johnson who comes off the bench. They play with Torrey Craig, who's pretty big. He struggled a little bit in this series, so maybe I shouldn't have shouted out Torrey Craig, but like they have length and wings. Length and wings matter so much, and the Blazers just don't have that on the roster right now. They have some good guards. They've got one really good center. But the rest of their sort of 6-man core with Dame and Ant and Naz and Nurk, Josh Hart is, he's 6'5", he's a 2. He could play up, but I don't want him to play up next to Dame and Ant. And Justice Winslow, who's big and can play either the 3 or the 4, but it doesn't give the Blazers plus length. Like I think it gives the Blazers interesting length, and you want to stack up on as many wings as you can. But when I'm thinking about sort of the future of this team, and I'm looking at the sort of lineup data that suggests Dame and Ant can score on anybody. And my eyeballs suggest the same thing as the lineup data. They can score on anybody. It's so much is going to matter what comes next. And then I look at the good teams in the league. Like I look, the teams that are still playing right now, for the most part, they're really big. And they have the ability to play really big. And length is just, big wings and length matters so much. It's not going to be easy for the Blazers to do that. And I'm not even here to offer you like a solution. Here's what they do. Like add Kyle Anderson to the mix and you're a champion or whatever. Sure, I like Kyle Anderson. He moves slow, likes to pass. I'm a fan of his strange aesthetic, although he has some real limitations. But even you add some low level wings to the mix. Like you need to load up on them because the 3-guard lineup can't be something the Blazers rely on. It has to be the best version of the Blazers has Josh Hart come off the bench. I think that's what they want to do. I think that's what they're after. And I think that's what they will do. But from here to there, it's incredibly important. And the lineup data and all the Blazers basketball we've watched and all the postseason basketball we at least I don't know if y'all are still watching. I hope you are. It's really fun. All the postseason basketball is just like having length at those forward spots is incredibly important. You don't need to be gigantic at the 4, but a bunch of dudes who are 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", interchangeably playing 3 and 4, particularly on a team with the Blazers where you're going to play a ton of minutes with 2 dudes who are under 6'4" and are not good defensive players in Dame and Ant. You just need size. You need size. And you can mitigate some of their defensive shortcomings with more size and more athletes on the wing. It's always been the case, but in the past, the Blazers had sort of a full roster and less of a sort of blank slate, tabula rasa for all my Latin heads out there. Like they have a relatively blank slate. They can go get it done. And now's the time to do that. Is it Paolo Banchero? Is it Keegan Murray? Is it Shaedon Sharpe for at the mock drafts at the top? Or is it being creative in free agency and being creative in trades? I think it's going to be trades and free agency, and I think they need to draft size as well. That has to be the number one priority for this team is size and length, both height and wingspan. Like you need a bunch of defenders because that's the Blazers' path forward. Because I think the Dame and Ant pairing, to answer Jacob G's question just straight up, is going to be pretty good on offense, even great on offense. It's the other side of the ball that will define this team's future, and that means that who they play with, who plays and when, is going to be the most important thing for the Blazers this year, the adding talent and adding size to the back half of the roster. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for listening. If you want to send me a question that I'll turn into 15 or so minutes of the show, send me one, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me. Jacob is a regular emailer, and we're able to go back and forth and kind of craft a straight-up podcast segment together out of curiosities about his favorite basketball team, Jacob's favorite basketball team. So you could do the same. Send me an email, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. You can also tell your friends about this podcast. That's the best way to grow the show, is by word of mouth. That's how people hear about podcasts. So go out. If you're listening to this, go out today and tell one other person, hey, I like Locked On Blazers. And you can find it wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Blazers. It'll be right there waiting for you. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.